lump over there. Everybody's just like, we're just doing what we're doing. But when Yahweh scatters them, it has a contronym. Both, they're outside their home, but when they living Torah lifestyle in the other countries, he pulls in the Gentile, which has always been his design. Come with me. I love your lifestyle. It's delicious. Gahol Matodedah. One delicious purpose. And on the sticks you shall write, in verse 20, you shall be in the hand before their eyes. In verse 21, and speak to them. Thus says the Master Yahweh, see, I'm taking the children of Israel from among the Gentiles, wherever they have gone, and shall gather them from around. He didn't say square world. Anyway, I digress. And I shall bring them to the land, and I shall make them one nation in the land, on the mountains of Israel, and the one king sovereign over them. And let there no longer be two nations, and let them no longer be divided into two nations. And they shall no longer defile themselves with idols, nor with their disgusting matters, nor with any of their transgressions. And I shall Yeshua them, or rescue them from all their dwelling places in which they have sinned, and I shall cleanse them, rivers of living water. Blood does not touch your body. People say, I'm washing the blood. You can't wash in the blood. Yahweh uses the blood to wash the building. He uses the water to clean you. We learned that in Christianity. It's false. When you took the blood in the temple, where did it go? It went on the altar. It went on the altar of incense. It went on the building. It went on the Ark of the Covenant. It never goes on you. He's cleaning his building because our sins has contaminated his house, and he has to have something to clean it up with, to purify it, to purge it. When you come to that building, you take a mikvah, and then you go in there, and you already made amends to your brother. You gave him a cow and gave him 20%, and you go through the older offering that Yahweh raised you up so you can have a conversation with him, and then you're dedicated to him, and you give the skin to the priest, and then you go ahead and take your minka offering, your grain offering, saying, hey, thank you, Father, and then you go ahead and get your trespass offering. You did that, and you can admit what you did, and then you get the shekalim offering, and you can eat with the priest. It's all about relationship. None of that blood went on you. That blood went on the building.
With the exception of the connecting, right? When he sprinkled it and
yes.
Connected with
That's another kettle of fish. So he goes, he says, verse 24, while Dawid, my servant, is king over them. This is not David himself. This is Yeshua. Yeshua's the king. He's the ultimate David. Remember, everybody else is the model. And they shall have one shepherd, and walk in my right rulings, his hukim, and guard my Torah. Remember, guarding is holding it real special. You can guard Yahweh special without any problem. It's holding in high regard. You may be weak to a certain situation where your flesh, your nature just like desires you to do something, and you're trying to rein it in, and you said, I'm too tired to use Yahweh Spirit, and then you do this and you do that. But you can guard Yahweh's Torah, and you're just like, oh my dear, this crazy flesh, I want to be out of it. We heard that with our little man Steve. I don't want to live anymore. I'm tired of this body. I know I'm tired of this body. I want to be redeemed. You know, Paul says that in Romans 6, 7, and 8. Thank Yahweh, there's no condemnation of those that love Yahweh. Because we stay in the battle, but we feel this. In fact, the more Torah you know, the more, as Solomon says, the more Torah you know, the more angst you have, the more sorrow you have. Why? Because you can see what you're not doing. You can see you have not got to the expectations that are up there. And you loathe yourself because you're not there. But Yahweh's like, hey, just relax. If your heart condemns you, Yahweh's greater than your heart. You know, look on me. He continues, he says, and they shall do them. So guarding Yahweh's Torah versus doing them are two separate entities. They're a God, yes, but you can guard Yahweh's Torah. You can hold it special. Holding it special doesn't mean you don't mess up. That's like you have a new car and you hold it special and somebody dings your car. You still hold it special. Oh man, you go over there like, oh man. And then it says, and they shall dwell in the land. And they used to live in Chicago. And I have given you Yaakov, my servant, where your fathers dwelt. And that Yaakov now is who? Yeshua. And they shall dwell in it, they and their children and their children's children. So they're going to have children. They're human beings. They're flesh and blood. And they're going to start populating again. So if you're a grandmom, you're going to be a grandma over. If you're a spirit being person now, you're like, oh man, my seed is growing. I mean, into the millennium. Look at that. I got more grandkids. You know? And then it says, and my dwelling place shall be over them. Oh, Sukkot. And I shall be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. They're now a cod with Yahweh. And the Gentiles shall know, or the nations, that I'm Yahweh, am settling Israel apart, when my set apart place is in their midst for Olam. So here you see Yahweh does the same thing. He took Israel out of death, out of Egypt. They're in a position of death. He takes them out. Then he takes them on his rivers of living waters and gets them all the way to Israel 40 years later. And he sets them apart from all the nations. And he gets the Canaanites out, some of them. And he established Israel separate from all the nations. And then when we read in chapter 39, and we read in chapter 38, chapter 30 and 39, we talked about how Gog and Magog and all the people that gang up with him. Because we read in in Revelation chapter 20. We went to 20. Go to Revelation chapter 20. Revelation chapter 20. and we see, and this is part of your timeline in this weekend, or time cycle. He says, let's go to verse 6. Go to verse 5. I'll go to verse 4. They said, verse 4. And I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given to them, and the lives of those who had been beheaded because of the witness they bore of Yeshua, and because of the word of Elohim, who did not worship the beast. Well, if you didn't worship the beast, you're still there. You're still there.
Wow.
You're still there. You got a testimony. I'm walking in Yahweh. I don't care who's in charge of the whole entire world. I'm worshiping Yahweh, not the state. And where were we? Then I worship the beast. Remember, the beast is a government. It's not the cowardly lion, and nor his image. That's again the character. You're in like, oh wow, man, I love the way. No, you're not doing that. You're there, and did not receive his mark upon their foreheads. They're not in his dwelling place of, I got this character. I'm gonna use my mind, all my might, to be in this position to act out the culture of that land. And he says, or upon their hands, I'm not gonna do the work of this destiny that's set before me in this culture. Just like Daniel. Daniel was where? He was in the belly of the beast. He was in the courthouse. Continue. And they lived and reigned with Messiah for 1,000 years. That's us. This is the tabernacle. I mean, the Shavuot people living in the millennium as Elohim, spirit beings, invisible. Then it says, and reign with Messiah for 1,000 years. The Hebrew word there is aleph, which is the word for 1,000. It's not a word that has a distinction about 1,000. It could be 1,000 and a whole bunch of other more days. It could be like Joshua's long day. It's still 1,000 years, but Yahweh took 1,999 days, years. Whatever he's accomplishing. And then it says, and the rest of the dead did not come alive until the 1,000 years were ending. This is the first resurrection. You are the part of the first resurrection, which goes all the way to Shavuot, to the Pentecost resurrection. That's you guys. But there's people that are dead. We just read in Ezekiel 37 that some of these people in Yahweh's earth are the children of Israel. And he wakes them up in the beginning of the 1,000-year reign, which is neglected a lot of times in the Yahweh walk. We got these two minor resurrections. One to everlasting life, and everybody's held in the handbaskets. This is worse than Christianity. Where the minute you die, you go to heaven and hell. You got an elevator up, elevator down. Oh, I forgot that other elevator, purgatory. There's that elevator. It goes sideways. Okay. So it says, blessed and set apart is the one having part of the first resurrection. Why? if you're already Elohim, you're already spirit, you're already just like the Son, because the second death has no authority over you, but they shall be priests of Elohim and of his Messiah.
The first resurrection
And-
is you get a position in the kingdom. We're reigning with Messiah, right?
And they shall reign with him 1,000 years. This is very important. Yahweh's not finished. The great day, Yeshua says, rivers of living waters coming out of me. If you got rivers of living waters coming out of him, there's somebody in his belly. Who's in his belly? Is Adamah, this earth, has many, many dead Israelites that refused to walk with Yahweh. All the way back to Jacob, all the way to time of the beginning of the millennium. Yahweh wakes them up. We just read in Ezekiel chapter 37. And they know they're supposed to be held in the handbasket. And Yahweh says, I got you covered. I'm giving you compassion. I'm giving you grace, because grace is free of charge. We learned that in Christianity. At least we learned that much. But we also said, oh, I am so happy that you woke me up out of this grave. I love to do anything you want me to do. That's what we're supposed to do. But we get in Christianity, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And I'm going to make it up anyway. Because it goes all the way back to the garden. Because what it is, my desire will determine what is function and what is dysfunction. And that's what we have in Christianity. That's what we have in Judea, in Judah. They use their desire to say, this is Torah, or this is function, this is dysfunction. And Yahweh's like, that's not, hello. You know the rest of that story. So he says, and when 1,000 years have ended, Satan shall be released from his prison, and he shall go out to lead the nations astray, which in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together for battle, whose number is the sand of the sea. And they came up over the breadth of the earth, surrounded the camp of the set-apart ones in the beloved city, and fire came down from Elohim out of heaven and consumed them. And what we do, you go back to chapter 38 and 39 of Ezekiel, you see that this event happens during the millennium, to the latter part. So 38 and 39, when we did this several days ago, it recounts how Gog and Magog is the leadership, and it has all these nations with it. They got Persia, and they got Tarshish, and they got all these nations around the world. It's like, you know what? Our desire has a little extra gasoline now, because something's been released. Hasatan. We're going to go take over Israel. So they go over there. And you read in chapter 38 and 39, Yahweh talks about, you know, he brings his fire down. We read a little bit, the Reader Digest version in chapter 20 of Revelation. And he also recounts in 38 and 39. I need y'all to read that, because we went through it line by line several days ago. He talks about how Israel was in captivity, and he brings them into the land. He kind of puts a little inset within there. Matter of fact, it says, well, we won't go there. Okay, we'll go to 25. Or for 24, he says, according to their uncleanness and according to their transgressions. Let's go to 23. 23 of Ezekiel chapter 39. It says, the Gentiles should know that the house of Israel went into exile. They went into exile for their crookedness, because they had trespassed against me. So I hid my face from them. A lot of people don't realize that Yahweh will hide his face. If you want to be where you want to be, he says, I'm out of here. Doesn't a mom and dad do that? Go to your room. Close the door. Kids don't like that. I know mine doesn't. So I hid my face from them, and I gave them into the hand of their adversaries, and they all fell by the sword, which is the resurrection of these dry bones. According to their uncleanness, according to their transgressions, I have dealt with them and hid my face from them. Therefore, says the Master Yahweh, now I'm going to bring back the captives of Jacob, and I shall have compassion on them, on all the house of Israel. Some people have a problem with that. You're going to give them a chance? Another chance? Another chance? I guarantee you, how many chances Yahweh give you every day, just in your brain alone, and says, woo, boy, you just keep on doing it, don't you? And that's in your brain alone. That's talking about your hand. It's not just your hands. We're talking about in your brain, in your head, that you crossed over. Then he says, and I shall have compassion on all the house of Israel, and shall be zealous for my set apart name. Remember, what does his name mean? It's his character. It's what he stands for. It's not the articulation of his sound. I say Yahuwah, I say Yahweh, I say look at who he got 39 different ways to say Yahweh's name, and I'm sure it's probably going even more so. Yahweh's like, well, that's well and great, but are they in my character? Do they see me as the source of all things? Do they see that I put things there? Like I put a holiday there. Are they honoring that? That I'm breathing in them and they will breathe my life. And the Ruach, they're traveling my river route. They're not all of a sudden got off the river and made their own tributary. That's the name of Yahweh. I don't argue the name. I said, do you do the character of Yahweh? Yes. Then we have no argument. I don't know what sounds and syllables come out of your mouth, but as long as you're walking in Torah, Yahweh says you're under the condition of Zaphanath Paneah. Who's that? That was Joseph. And his brother still bowed down before him and still acted his character in Egypt. Even they didn't know it was Joseph.